Hey, what's up, aliens, humanoids, and droids, and welcome to a Nerdy Bunch weekly review for Star Wars The Acolyte. Today we're here to talk episode 6, titled Teach Corrupt. And helping me not get thirst trapped into following the dark side is my co host, Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
Absolutely impossible not to get trapped.
I mean,
So,
I mean
yo,
they say the dark side is all semantics, right?
yeah.
Eh. You may have to do a few bad things here and there.
It's what
You
it
know,
is.
that's just semantics. Who cares? It's fine.
Life isn't black or white, let's be honest.
Exactly. The dark side has cool red stuff. Like red is my favorite color. Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's intriguing. After last week's crazy filled killer lightsaber episode, this one gives us a more somber, toned down episode where characters talk to each other. And usually, I'm not a fan of talky episodes of stuff, but I think this was needed.
Yeah.
After last week, we needed to get to calm down a bit, and some of the conversations had were very, very interesting to say the least. Andrew, what are your spoiler-free thoughts?
So like you said, it was definitely a slower paced episode intentionally, right? Still reeling off last week's. I think a lot of plots, not a lot, a good number of plot holes were either covered or like at least patched up, right? So we have some answers. We also have a lot more questions. So I enjoyed a lot of when I say the reveals or just things we're starting to see unwind or untangle, right? Which, like I said, more questions, more answers. So not as long as last week's episode, of course, that was a highlight episode, but I think it was a good episode in moving the story forward. And just kind of shedding some more light on some of the characters' backstory, especially Mr. Thirst Trap himself, of course.
For me, this is also one of those episodes that, you know, the age-old Jedi, I mean, the age-old Star Wars narrative in terms of the Sith or the villains
Yeah.
is partly, in part, is how do I seduce somebody to join me?
Yeah.
Right? That's part of the Star Wars lore, right? That's the age-old thing, and we've always known this. You know that Anakin got seduced, and so many other Dooku got seduced. But I feel this is one of the first times in live action that I've actually felt that seduction. That
Yeah.
I'm in myself. I'm like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Because again, I felt like as much as Anakin was seduced, Anakin was already on the edge. He didn't need
Yeah.
much
It
of a
wasn't
push.
seduced. He was like,
you know,
yeah.
he was already almost there with everything that happened to him.
It's
He
like
was
they held the elevator door open for him. He was on the
exactly,
way, right? Like he was literally on
exactly. He was
the
already on his way.
way.
Whereas in this episode, the way it's done, I really, you have a character who's against the seduction, is aware of it, but it's still seeping through.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It still seeps through. The person doing the seduction has to work a lot harder. And you know what? They do a good
Right.
job, I
Nah.
will say.
I'd be convinced. Honestly, I would be. No spoilers yet.
This episode is split for the most part to two plot lines. I think one plot line, the seduction plot line, is a lot stronger than the other. I think the other one doesn't flow as much, but again, it might be by design to focus more on the seduction storyline. But yeah, it's not evenly balanced between
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah.
I felt, yeah. All right, let's go into spoilers, full spoilers. I'm just gonna go straight into seduction. For anything else, I think Chimera does a fantastic job of seducing Osha. Even when Osha's just like, that's the dark side. He's like, semantics. She's like, did you use these tactics against my sister? I made a mistake with her. Saying all these things. So I want to ask you the first question. You know, what tactics were your favorite tactics, or the strongest tactics did you think Chimera used to kind of slowly seduce Osha? Even though, again, he's not really hiding anything from her. He's very open.
And right on that point of not hiding, I mean, he came out of the water like guns blazing, right? Literally, you get right on it. What do you want? Like, are you gonna kill me? Naked man works out. I mean, come on, at least let me put on my clothes and just the whole. I really have to commend his acting.
Oh,
Again, as a watcher of The Good Place, he's completely changed whatever image I had of him as like silly, ditzy, unable, right? Like each layer of the seduction felt real, like just playing on the fact that yes, he's nude and she's at least on some level attracted to this physical being, and then just slowly like peeling back the layers of of everything involving him, and you used to be a Jedi. What long time ago? Wait, this can help you master the Force semantics. Like there were just reasons where, like you said, I feel like if I was her, I'm just I have to question it, right? I have to know more because he's not forcing me to take it, and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
I mean, fine, let me know some more. So I very much like his. It's a slow play, right? It's a slow play because
Yes,
he's not the kind of
very
like you brought
patient.
up. Yeah, Count Dooku is not a patient person, right? Like he's not one of those who would be like those are the kind of people who like lock him in the dungeon till he's ready, right?
Yeah,
Whereas Camille is very much like, oh girl, I got time. I got time.
right, right.
I
He's
got
like,
it's just me and you. He was like, look at the ship over there. I mean, you can
I
leave.
mean, if
I'm
you
not
want to leave,
I'm
you
not
better
even
leave
forcing
now.
you. High tide soon. And if not, I mean, well, it's just me and you on this island.
When he's like, if you're not going to join me, at least let me put my clothes on. Like he's very chill with it, and I think he does a good job, like you said, his patience, all right, slowly kind of peeling the layers down. Even subtle things like he, when he disrobes, he's wearing a black robe. When he
Yeah.
puts clothes back on, it's a white robe.
Toys. Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a purity, and it's almost like disarming himself in front of her,
Yeah.
literally, and like she has his saber. She's like,
Literally.
"I'm your prisoner." He's like, "You're the one with the saber,
See,
not
man.
me." But it feels good in the hand right there, huh? Huh? Huh?
Exactly. Like even later when he went up to her with the saber like on his stomach area, like near his neck, like
Yeah.
do it, bet you won't.
Right.
It's just like
Right.
stop teasing her, bro.
Right. Touching
So
her
funny.
hand, things like that,
So
giving her tips of how to use the saber, which, funny enough, my thinking when she picks up the saber, I'm like, girl, what are you going to do with that? Like,
so
even without a saber, he will kill you before you can even blink, before you can even,
yeah.
you're dead if you wanted to. There's, like, we talked about last week how she's useless in a fight. You thought now
All
against
of a
this guy
sudden,
that you saw you saw take out everybody, suddenly you're thinking that he's gonna, absolutely not. No, I
she's
I
not
don't think so.
serious.
We find out a lot. Well, I won't say a lot. We find out some information, through his trying to kind of coerce her. She asks about his scars.
Mhm.
How'd you get those scars? I couldn't stop thinking about the Joker.
Of course.
And he briefly mentions, that we found out he was a former Jedi a long time ago, not
And
necessarily in a
how
galaxy far,
long?
far away. How
How
long?
long?
And he says, he alludes to the fact that his scars were given to him by his master, who essentially, stabbed him in the back.
Yeah.
Here's my fan question to you: do you think Venestra is his master? She has a whip. We saw a really cool lightsaber whip that's new
Best
to live action.
best
It's
scene.
been
Mhm.
introduced in the books. Do you think she could be the master? Because I feel like there's some things that she knows, or she's aware of, or she's thinking that she's not sharing. What do you think?
I feel I'm almost annoyed at first watch I didn't connect her lightsaber with his scars.
Yeah.
After speaking to you privately on the internet, I did see the connection and it makes sense. And I don't know. So because when she was talking to Vanessa, that is talking to I guess Mog. I think Mog is his name.
Yeah, Mog.
And she was just very like, "Oh, I have to handle this." Like, oh,
Hmm.
like, oh, like covering her face, like, Don't worry about it, Mog. Stop asking questions."
Yeah.
So that kind of does allude to me like either yes, she was his master, or like they both shared the same master type of like they were in the same
There's a
the
connection.
same clique for sure, right? And she knows that dude. And I'm just gonna throw out the guess. He got that scar from somebody else who had that lightsaber, and then she got that lightsaber handed down from that person.
Oh, interesting.
Just because I'm a gambling man, why
Interesting.
not throw that guess
Interesting.
out there? But if not, she probably wasn't mad. Because I guess for me, it's because I don't really know which is fun, the age, time range between her being a master and him being young. Because I don't even know his age. Like, is he 50, 100, 150? What are we talking? Looks about 34, but
She is
but it's
definitely
20
older
young.
though.
So
From the books, she's older than she looks. I think she's like 100 or so, something like that.
apparently, right? So I
Right.
mean, for him to have served under, like, when would that have happened? I don't know. It's some interesting
And
questions.
and Osha even says, "I've never heard of you," and then he says, "A really long time ago."
And
So
this
that
is the
could
thing
be
about Star Wars. What really is not it's not a variable
right,
you can like say, oh, that's like 10 days. Could be
right,
10 centuries, maybe
right.
500,000,000,000 years. You never know. So I'm
Yeah,
intrigued to
seriously.
see to find out more about his not necessarily dark side, but just his connection to what was the Jedi, and Vanessa definitely has some sort of end with his clique from the past.
There's a moment with Venestra before Mog comes to tell her about the call from Saul. She's having a video conference, holo conference with a senator, and something along the lines. I didn't realize it's my first viewing. Something along the lines of the senator says, "Oh, don't worry about the Jedi review. The Jedi are going to get a review, but
Yeah,
don't worry about it. It's just some senator trying to make a name for himself.
so funny.
You Jedi are always transparent with the council." And then Vanessa's like,
Right.
right now is not the time.
That was a nice addition.
So again, this shows
Yeah.
us again the continuous political connections that the Jedi slowly start to have. That by the time we get to the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, they're fully in as part of all the politics and stuff. Which again,
Mhm.
which is part of their downfall. They get involved in all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is also hard to not be as you grow, because that's what the Jedi do. They go around to different places and different lands, almost like early Christians going to different places to kind of give the good
Spread the
word and
word.
things like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. But in, as in the case in our history and this, sometimes the word is spread to people who didn't want it. It's like, I didn't want your word. Why are you bringing it to me? Yeah, and again, this goes into the larger narrative that we always speak of is the Jedi way the correct way? Which is again, we go back to May and Chimera. He literally speaks to her about that, right? There are other ways um, to get access to the Force. Anger,
Mhm.
all these other emotions and
Yeah.
things like that. And she's like, yeah, but that sounds like the dark side. He's just like, yeah, semantics. But the fact of the matter is, you know, he's still saying the Jedi control you,
Yeah.
right?
Essentially.
The Jedi tell you how things can be done, and if you don't like it, you get thrown out. And we find out that she says she wasn't good enough. That's why she wasn't a Jedi. We
She
don't know the full
failed.
story. She failed. What do you think the full story is there?
I don't know because I didn't, not that I wasn't expecting that, but I don't know. I thought she actually left for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Not failed. What does failed mean? Like, what? Failed to control your anger? Like maybe she failed at one thing, but not failed the whole Jedi experience. But I don't know
Mm-hmm.
because Osha, yeah, she definitely seems like a confused spirit, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
actually like this. I like what is happening with her. I think because I personally want her to go full dark side, right? Like let this dude teach
Yes.
her, get used to the Daft Punk helmet, and master the Force ASAP, right? Because I feel like it would just flesh out the anger inside her because she
Mm-hmm.
literally seems like a volcano that wants to explode. So you know what? Might as well control this demon fox inside you, girl, and then end of the season, you and your sister kill everybody else and run away into into the
And
galaxy.
and that brings my next question. Why do you think, as much as sometimes she's aware that he's trying to seduce her, why do you think she essentially goes along with it?
Does she have a strong willpower? Is my first question, right? I, I don't know that I'm convinced that she does. Like I'll give you an example. I feel like May has stronger willpower.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to kill all these Jedi and then reach the point where she's like, actually, my sister's life, I'm no longer going to do this, right? Whereas Osha is just like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? So what's happening? Oh, I'm a Jedi. I'm not a Jedi. Oh my gosh, I've been kidnapped. You're so hot. Teach me more. So I don't know. It definitely feels like I don't know. Osha feels like somebody who's been spiraling, and we're about to see where that leads to. And I just love we predicted this a bit, just the crisscross between her and May, who's having a very different time, by the way. But obviously, we'll
Mm-hmm.
get to her and Soul. So yeah,
And then part of that seduction, when he tells her, "Oh, you see this Cortosis helmet? It's kind of cool, right? You want to wear it? Huh? You want to wear it?" I would say I would definitely wear it because it's just a cool looking helmet. Has to be tried on. I don't care.
yeah,
I would fall for it. You didn't even have to seduce me. Like, helmet, look, I'd probably do it behind your back.
I would,
Sorry, like.
I would ask him right away. Hey, before we go too far, can I see that?
Can I just see it? Like, I want to just try it on. And he tells her that it's similar to the sensory deprivation helmets they'd use as younglings, which we've seen which you've seen previously. And even when Obi-Wan was training Luke, he had to wear it. Use the Force, Luke, which I find so interesting because Jedi get trained by essentially, shutting down all their senses,
Mhm.
and in this case also sight, and they have to kind of work with that sight. In fact, that's how Luke was able to shoot through the hole in the Death Star, right? He uses his feelings instead of the
Mhm.
things. It's interesting that we don't get many Jedi who actually fight like that, because then when she puts on the helmet, realize that Kaime is essentially blind. So all that killing last week's episode, he was fighting blind,
That's what I was gonna ask because I almost couldn't believe my ears and eyes.
right?
Like he did all that, all of you with just the force, but I mean, also fair enough, but also nah, yo, yo,
which
weak.
which also shows, they spoke last week about how his fighting style is erratic and makes no sense. This makes it make sense, right? He's not going for what he sees; he goes for
Yeah,
what he feels. So how
yeah,
do you fight someone? It's almost like he's Daredevil, in a sense. Yeah,
yeah.
and I
That's a
thought
good
I thought
connection.
that's pretty cool, and I find it interesting that we've never seen someone do that before. This is especially because that's how they get trained from the
Yeah,
beginning, right? They get trained with the senses out. So I really like that idea, just seeing that, and then even at the end when you hear her breathing. It's very much a Darth Vader
Darth Vader
evoke
light.
Darth Vader, yeah, right?
Darth Vader from
And
Wish.
he says, you in there blocks everything out except for your connection with the Force and anything else you bring in there with you. So I wonder what that means. What she's going to go through. We can only guess what she's going to go through when she puts it on, but I'm sure she's going to have some kind of, I don't know,
God
Force
experience.
vision,
Yeah.
exactly, Force experience and things like that. Um, let's shift over to May pretending as Osha. One thing I will say, one thing we spoke about last week is we hoped that it wouldn't take so long for Sol to figure it out. Where we're like,
Mhm.
come on, how long did it take? So how do you feel about how long it took for Sol to figure out? Did it make sense to you? Did you feel annoyed, or did it work?
It's giving Jean Grey switch because I'm like, when did he figure it out? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know. I still have. I feel like he knew from earlier than we think. I don't know who he is. Then earlier than it
Agreed.
seems or was portrayed, I feel like he was already aware. There is even from last episode. I don't know. I can't prove it, but it's just even the way. Once again, shout out to actor Soul's actor because great portrayals this episode as
Oh
well
yes,
of the
great
emotions, of
episode.
the thought, of just like I'm literally like, bro, I would watch a whole prequel show about just him, just because I want to know what he's thinking. Like, what have you done? Tell us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like he knew from pretty early on. I don't know when
Yes.
exactly, but I'm happy, like you said, it didn't even reach the end of the episode, right? It was almost
No.
it felt like he was like, okay, priorities. Okay, wait, okay, shit, park, okay, all right, May, stop it. Right?
Right. Right.
It
Right.
was
Right.
like, I'll get to you, just
Let me
wait.
let me make sure we're up in orbit so she can't
Yes,
escape.
exactly, right? Like, and then turn off the transponder, and then peace. But that's what I feel. I just feel like he was just coming to and setting, every setting the fires out first, and
Mhm.
then like, all right, May, Osha. So I'm happy about that.
And he's going through a lot of emotions at that time. His whole team gets killed. His Padawan gets killed. He
Mhm.
loses another Padawan. So there are moments where we see him kind of stop to kind of like breathe and just like control the overwhelming. Right, I thought that was brilliant, because you're like, what is he going through right now? All the thinking that he's going through his head, and then even in hindsight, you realize, okay, is he thinking, what am I going to do next? What's happening? And even being feeling that, how did I not recognize Kaimir,
Yeah,
when I was right next to him, things like that. So he's going through a lot, and even if he didn't figure out it was May right away, you can understand why it might have taken him a few seconds,
of course,
because his focus is
just so
everywhere
much.
else.
Yeah,
You know, I don't even think I was even paying attention. I was like, does he actually look at her directly? He doesn't look at her for a while,
yeah,
because I thought
yeah,
maybe he'd see the tattoo on her forehead,
yeah.
which they also do a good job of hiding that, because it's
One,
covered up sometimes.
yeah.
But I think one of the moments he might have realized, or at least he might have realized that his confirmation is when he's talking about Pip to her, when
Oh,
she's
I
like,
see how
oh,
you love him and care for
yeah, exactly. That just seems so random that I feel like that was almost like a test to to confirm what he was thinking already.
Was
You
that
know,
after Pip's eyes turned red? Before? She don't know.
I think that was after, because she'd
After?
reset it already. Yeah,
That
she'd
would be
reset it.
interesting. That would be interesting if you saw the eyes and it was like,
Sure,
you
sure.
know, what the hell? What are you doing?
Right. Or I mean, I thought that I really like that. So then there's my question to you. Two questions. One, why then does he shut off the transponder to get away with May? And then two, when he says, "For 16 years, I've been figuring out what am I going to say to you." Why is it that he has something to say specifically to Osha? I mean, to
So
May,
right,
to her.
I like that.
Yeah, what does
Me
he?
and Osha.
Yes.
Where is he going? What two options? What he's either trying to protect her or finish what he started? Question mark. Question mark. Question
Go
mark.
back. Go back to her home planet.
Like I don't know. There's definitely I like that we're approaching the climax of this mystery because whatever happened that night, why would he feel bad if May burnt down her home?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why? What do I have to say to you? Like maybe sorry, fine. The easy guess is, oh, I'm sorry for what happened to you. You were young. I wish I could. I wish I could have saved you too. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I don't know. It felt the build up felt like it's more than that, right? It would almost be funny. It's not impossible. It would almost be funny if Saul was like evil and has been grooming me. Since like I told you to burn everywhere. You silly girl, what's wrong with you? You only burnt the room. But I don't think it's that. But I'm very curious. It could be an apology, but I just feel like there's a little bit more. Maybe it has to do with Mother. We still saw Mother and all of the fellow witches just dead on the floor way before the fire. No, or like not affected by the fire. The fire did not kill them. We know this. So maybe it could be connected to that. I'm intrigued, but yeah, I'm curious too for him running off from Venestra and Co. because it could be connected to the same plot. Maybe Venestra's trying to finish the job, kill me. It's just like, oh, this is why I like this show. I'm not saying I'll never claim a show is perfect if it's not, right. I have issues with it as well. I have a lot of nitpicks, but it's very enjoyable, right? And I'm curious and I'm guessing and I'm like, oh, is it this and is this and why? And so I really want to see how. I do feel in summary that him escaping with me is somehow connected to Venestra. Also because they, thematically showed us him zooming away as soon as she arrived, right?
Boom.
So it's
Yep.
just the idea of he's trying to keep me away from Venestra, right? That's how I see it. He doesn't believe that the Jedi are going to be are going to show justice. I don't know. That's kind of my feeling somehow.
And speaking of, you just gave me, just reminded me. There's a scene where when Venestra is talking to Mog, which I
Right?
love when they arrive on the planet and you see all the dead bodies. I was just like, oh,
Oh,
that
so
was
sad.
the eyes open. I was like, oh shit, just trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And Mog kind of alludes like, oh, these were struck down by a lightsaber. Maybe it's a Jedi gone rogue, and he suspects Saul. So here's my question: do you think Saul's going to get blamed for it? Because Venestra, I feel like she realizes it's not Saul, but she doesn't say no. She just says that's some accusation or something
Yeah.
along those lines.
It's a
But she
great
mentions
great
about
cover up. You know what?
right. She talks about balancing the scales, and I think she knows something. But do you think she's going to reveal what she knows, or she's just going to like let the whole "let's blame Saul" narrative kind of carry on? What do you think?
It feels very like Amanda Waller. Like what? I have a backup
Mm.
fall guy. If anything goes wrong, I'll be like, hey Mug, what was your suspicion again?
Oh yeah, your
Yes,
suspicion.
yeah, exactly. Like, usually you said Saul, right? Oh, you know what? I agree.
I never thought of that.
I can't believe it. But so that's why yeah, her whole acting this episode was very much like she knows a lot, but I am not saying a word. I'm not saying you will literally not be able to prove anything. And I'm just gonna make sure that all the chips are in play for people to fall and me to just wipe. Like Mog himself should be careful.
Mhm,
He's
mhm.
asking too many questions. he's,
Right?
he's gonna he's gonna find himself on the
He looks
floor
like a red
too.
shirt. He looks like a red shirt to me. I feel.
Yeah, he actually does, but he was kind of not. He wasn't actually funny, but it was funny watching him this episode because he kept being to her like almost like, oh, I think at first he was like, oh, we can't find Soul. No idea where he is, and she's like, oh, he's on this planet, and he's like,
He's like, how'd you know?
what? He's like, excuse me. So it was funny to see him do that and be like, is it Soul? Because you're right, it's almost like he's being set up because he's just trying to do. He's doing what I guess is expected of his job, right? Like
Mhm,
Jedi here killed, Soul is missing. Okay,
mhm,
Soul's the
mhm.
killer, right? But yeah,
Right, right.
Venestra definitely knows more. Maybe she said came her out of the world.
No, maybe. The episode explores the flaws and blind spots of the Jedi Order, right? And how their teachings can be the teachings, as much as they come from good intentions, can be so rigid rules. You have to do this. You can't do this. You have to do this.
We're still
You know, and
children.
right. But you can't.
Exactly. Nobody
Yeah.
else.
Right. So, like, how do you think this episode kind of further explores that with Kaimir's conversation with Osha, and just Osha learning more about his view of the Jedi?
I think that was good getting the other perspective of the dark side. Like it's almost not the whole idea of like you create the monster you're afraid of almost, right?
Hmm.
Like the
Hmm.
Jedi, you're so afraid of this Sith concept, and they're trying to keep everybody from using this Force, and just like choking everybody who's even trying to even just imagine I just had the Force, I just wanted to just survive. I'm experiencing it, and it's like if you're not Jedi, you're dark. Like it's almost gonna make people like pushed to the dark side, if that makes sense, just because
Hmm.
you're telling me it's this or that. You're not giving any room to breathe, right? They don't have like Jedi internships or like vocational programs. Like maybe you're half Jedi, right? Maybe your contracts
Hmm.
part timing. So I like seeing that, and again from Kimmer's eyes, because he's come from what we understand the Jedi side originally, right? At many people, but
Hmm.
kind of an earlier perspective to the prequels and co. So it's fun to see someone who's come from the green to the red, and it's kind of well, he flipped
But
me
also,
and is now flipping at somebody else. It's just like it's a
right.
lot of intermixing.
And you understand why it's so easy for people to get flipped, because I feel like the Jedi require you to be emotionless, because they talk about, oh, no anger, no, and all that stuff, but they
Yeah,
also don't want love either. Happiness, like you have
yeah,
no connections, even
yeah.
happy connections. You're not supposed to have any connections. When Kaima is talking to May, he even puts a hand on her. There's an emotional connection that's
Mhm,
happening there that the Jedi say you're not supposed to have. And a lot of the times that people turn over the dark side, it's not that anger comes from this being emotionally stunted for the good thing,
mhm.
right? It's almost like the Jedi need to have Jedi therapists for people to kind of just talk about this stuff.
Exactly.
But
Yeah,
it's like, no, keep it inside, shut it out,
yeah.
and things like that. So it's like, well, that's why it boils over. Maybe and rather than face these things, which again we find out in later movies like The Last Jedi, where Luke questions the way of the Jedi and actually starts other stories that talk about the fact that the force is neither good or bad. That idea
Mhm.
of light and dark were names that were given to it, right? It's about having a bit of both in that
Yeah,
balance. That's how it works. But the Jedi there was, like you said, they were so afraid of some of the dark stuff
yeah.
that they push you to the complete other side, which is insane to think about it. Where it's like, and they use words like, "Oh, the Sith are angry, the Sith are jealous." The Sith, yeah, but also they
So
have
are
happiness,
you.
they
Also,
have
so are
family,
you.
right, right, and they allow themselves to love. Like the Jedi don't even allow themselves to love. Everything has to be emotionally stunted, which as humans or as live creatures, because it's aliens in the show,
Yeah,
we seek companionship, we seek love, we seek all these things, and you're saying you can't have it and you can never have it because we got you as a child. This is why some of them start to break.
yeah.
you know like you said, most
Sure.
Sith that we know of were once Jedi who were like, I've had enough of this shit,
Gosh.
of your rules. Stop pushing me. Which again, this I always love when Star Wars narrators play in that kind of sandbox that say, like you said, things aren't so black and white. There are
Yeah,
gray
bro.
areas, or things aren't so dark and light, right? And why did you say dark has to be good? Huh? Why does dark have to be good and light have to be, oh, dark have to be bad and light have to be good? Who
Exactly.
made these rules?
It's just always nice to see the intermixing of the good and bad concepts, because
Right.
no matter what, up until the final end, as we know, it's like Vader and Co. Like anybody can always turn to the to the other side, right? It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
thieves that were next to Jesus Christ,
Mm-hmm.
according to the Bible, making it to heaven because they repented at the last minute. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's really the concept that Star Wars like centers on. It's like, look, you do bad all your life, but there's still good within you, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. You can do good all your
Mm-hmm.
life, but like Moses, if you the promised land because he got angry, according to the Bible,
Do they still bad?
it's the same concept. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing I really love about Star Wars. Just always be on your toes, every
Mm-hmm.
day, every day.
And again, and that also says again, like we said, it's all about balance. If you try to push out one side, you go too far the other way,
Yep.
right? I'm trying to expel the dark side, but then the light side isn't on its own isn't perfect. It has its flaws, and same thing with the other side,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's always, and they always talk about balance in the Force.
Yeah.
Any other moments that stood out to you that you liked Oh, by the way, I have to call you out on one thing. Not really
Oh,
calling you out, but kind of
but
calling you out, just to fix a mistake. 'Cause I was watching the last week's episode again, and we spoke about when Osha cuts her hair, and I didn't realize the hair is the same. What was longer was the back hair. She had the back hair was what's long. The front hair and the fringe and all that stuff is the same length. It's just her hair at the back was a lot longer and it came forward, and that's what she cuts off. So
so was that all they had?
yeah, so you'd only see. So once she cuts it, all the slice would be at the back of her head. You
So
wouldn't
you would
see it.
actually see.
Yeah, exactly. Because I
I'm
was
gonna go
realizing that.
rewatch now, looking for the back of my head. Like,
Yeah, rewatch that. Yeah,
fair.
because I was noticing that it's not the hair is not all the same length. It's only the hair at the back that's longer that she has length on. But yeah, any
Detail.
moments that stood out to you that we haven't spoken about?
Vanessa,
Oh, actually, go on.
Vanessa's whip, actually, yeah. Just to give it the 5 seconds, it was my wife's favorite moment of the episode. Literally,
So cool.
like you said, first live action, I think, edition of the whip. It gave me what's it, Iron Man 2 vibes.
Oh, whiplash.
But yeah, just yeah, it was nice and perfect. Even just with the whole scene, she just like shut up. Like,
Right,
I'm
right.
trying to think.
That whip has been introduced in the books, and it's not supposed to be. It's not a legal weapon. She's not supposed to be using it, and so I don't know why she's using it here. But it's a weapon that Jedi aren't supposed to have.
Did we talk about May? There really anything to say about May? I mean, she's been knocked out. Did I like
Yeah,
her approach per se? Where because she did ask Saul just to touch. She asked
yeah.
Saul um about that night, and of course he was like, "I will tell you now." And then the lights came back on. Oh,
Yeah.
lights are here, buddy. Oh, I hate that thing so
Teasing
much.
us,
I'm just like,
teasing us.
I am
Oh.
ready. Not. So yeah, we continue to wait, but yeah, I almost I almost feel her frustration. Oh, or I feel her pending frustration because it's so funny that she thought she had one up on Saul and she's gonna wake up
Mhm.
after the fact. So
All
just
right.
yeah, I can't wait to see how she responds to her plans just not going. I don't know what her plan is per se. I don't think she does either. But that's also why
No.
it's kind of fun. We see a lot of characters where we know like, oh, I'm going to save my mother, or oh, I'm gonna defeat the villain. Whereas she's just like, sister's alive. I was killing some guys. I left my old master, but now I'm with my sister's old master. What?
And this guy that I thought was working with me is actually the master.
That, and
You
then
know.
this little robot is pouring oil in my eye. This little little
Oh, what's
creature is
going
doing
on?
some weird dance. Like what is it?
What is going on right now? What
So
is going on
yeah,
right
that was just
now?
the last thing to touch on that I shout
and
out
and
you,
it's
May.
it's funny that you say that because I think again the central what I like in hindsight with this show is that it starts off by setting up a mystery of who's doing the killings of the Jedi. That doesn't matter anymore narratively to us
Mm-hmm.
because we've moved on from that. Again, it's a good mystery isn't holding that same central mystery. Like
Yeah.
shows like Lost, you hold on to that one mystery for so long, we stopped caring about the mystery. So by the time it's revealed, we're like, we don't care anymore. Whereas I think this this
Yeah.
does a good job of it's revealing the first central mystery, but then by revealing you're opening another
Yeah.
mystery box.
Yeah.
You're like in another mystery box, another. So it's like we're not holding on to one piece of thing the entire season.
Yeah.
It's like unraveling slowly and asking more questions. It's like, okay, we found who's the master. Well, we know who the master is, but what's his backstory? Blah blah blah. What's this? What's that? What's that? It's
The
just
master is
continuously.
master. Like, oh my god.
Exactly, exactly. And we're still waiting to know if because right now we don't know what or if Kaime has any kind of personal connections to the story. He's just almost like the disruptor
Mhm.
of the narrative, but we don't know his why. We know one of his why is he's like I want an apprentice, and he
Yes.
felt he made a mistake with May
Right.
and Osha as a better student for him. But how did he meet May?
Mhm.
How did he get involved? What is his
Exactly.
connections? We assume it could be Venestra, and there was one assumption at one point that it could be Saul. Well, what is it? We don't know how he got involved, and it, not necessarily a bad thing that we don't know. It's
Mhm.
just part of the mystery, and I like that.
We agreed.
All right, just checking anything else. Anything else? No, I actually really like this episode a lot. At first, I was kind of like, "Oh, this is moving slow. What's going on? They're just talking." But then, as
Yeah.
I'm listening to the conversations, and again, like you said, the delivery of Kaime's role, the delivery of Saul. I think Kaime
Mhm.
is Saul. fantastic in this episode.
100%.
Yeah, like you said, they did a good job of understanding. It's almost like even though you don't know what they're thinking, you know there's a lot of thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's a lot of thinking before anything is said, especially again in Chimera. His words are very precise. He's seducing her. He's, like, oh, you're the prisoner? I'm the prisoner? Oh, no, he's like, you're a prisoner? I'm not the one holding the saber.
Yeah.
Even though,
It's,
again, that saber doesn't mean shit because he mess her up even with the saber.
yeah, he
you know?
literally is that. And yeah, it's funny actually. Yeah, Camera and so having opposite experiences, right? Because Camera is very like calm. Let's go for a swim and then look at me naked,
Right.
right?
I mean, did you notice she checked him out? She kind of her eyes kind of
right?
looked down.
No, she literally was like, but I guess I like that realistic touch, right? Because she didn't pretend. She wasn't like, oh,
No.
she was like, anyways, fine, I won't kill you. That's what she said. I'm curious. So funny.
And again,
literally was like, is this a kid show?
right, right. And even in that moment, taking advantage of her, that's such a Sith moment, right? It's like, I know you saw me kill a whole bunch of people and some that you were close to.
Yeah.
But I'm disarmed. You won't kill me if I'm disarmed. And that's taking advantage of that Jedi teaching, right? Because if that was a Sith would be, I don't care if you're disarmed. I'm killing you.
Cut her from the bottom first.
Right. I don't care. And he's just like, but I'm disarmed. You would not hit me if I'm disarmed. What? But again, his manipulation. I think it's some of the best. Because again, with, and I know this is different kind of context and things like that, but with Palpatine, I don't know how nobody realized that Palpatine wasn't a good person. He looks evil. His face looks evil.
Like always smirking, always like it looks naughty.
Like there's no charm to you. Like I feel like in hindsight, if you were going to do that story again, I would add more charm to Palpatine to understand how he was able to kind of get all this power. I get it. He used fear mongering in this case, but with Chimera, there's this charm that I'm like, shit, I would be seduced.
Yeah.
Like he makes some good points.
He did. Like maybe Darkseid isn't that bad. Like we even said Darkseid.
Right. He's just like, hey, the Darkseid will give you muscles like this. Sold. I mean, what's your tricep workout routine? Tell me. I am it. Well, final thing. I think this show does a great job of kind of teasing what the episodes would be about with its titles. I think, in hindsight, you realize this title was Teach Corrupt. And I was like, that makes a lot. I mean, it's a lot of sense.
Yeah. Spoilers without context, which is what a title should be. Right?
100%. I was just like, this literally is Teach Corrupt. I like it.
Can't wait.
Anyway, what do you nerdies think? We have, I think, 2 more episodes to go before the finale. So I'm sure one of them is going to be a flashback episode. I assume episode 7 will be flashbacks. Yeah. And so we're going to get lots of information. What do you think Saul has to tell May? Because it's not what he wants to tell Osha. He said, I've been thinking for 16 years. I've wanted to tell you something. Specifically, and you will listen. He even ties her down so that she can listen to what he has to say. So I'm curious, what does he have to say? Maybe he has to tell her something about her own people that she didn't know about. Because again, we don't know why because again, her and her sister were not natural births. Right? That's another question. We haven't answered.
And they may not know that.
They may not know that, and so they may have been other motivations for their birth, other reasons that Saul and the Jedi kind of ruined, because maybe there was another plan for them initially, and Saul and the Jedi kind of disrupted that plan, and maybe he knows something that's like, you were born for this reason. Because there's a line, and I don't know if I'm reading into it too much. I might be reading into this too much, but when Saul, when Chimera is talking to May, to Osha, she says, Saul is coming. He's a very powerful Jedi in the Force. And then he says, you think that's his power? And he says, this is your power. And I don't know if he's being literal. Right. Is he being literal with that? And saying that Saul somehow took her power? Or is he just being general and saying that? Because then that's when the conversation leads into the dark side conversation. Or is he just being general and saying that they took your power away from you in terms of by telling you that if you don't do this, your power will fade. So they emotionally took your power away. Or is it literal? Because we do know in movies like Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi, Palpatine was trying to use Rey, right? Ray's power for himself. He was able to absorb Ray and I think
It
Kylo's power for himself. So is this something that happened? Am I reading too much into this? I'm not quite sure.
is.
But I
Yeah.
just thought that was just an interesting line, interesting phrasing at least.
Yeah, the
You know?
phrasing is why I would almost have to agree with you at betting man, because yeah, that's your power. That doesn't imply they took your power. Right? That implies no. He stole your keys.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
He stole your Benz. He drove away. Yeah, he drove far away. You had no idea.
Yeah,
I know. Shocking.
but again,
Interesting.
I'm not quite sure if that's being literal, but just I just again, like I said, I found it just an interesting line of phrasing. Um, on that note, 2 more episodes to go. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
Pope.
Who's going to survive? Who's going to die? Because again, everyone could die. They could do a Rogue One on us, right? Just kill everybody, and but we don't know where people end up. We don't know how the reveals that we will find out.
That is
But I'm actually very excited. I
exciting.
still say this show, and I don't like to end on a nitpick, but I have to mention nitpicks. I think it's fair. One, I still say this show should have been a binge. It would have worked better as a quick binge. And two, I think this episode specifically, I alluded to that at the beginning of the episode. I think it skews more towards Chimera and Osha's narrative as opposed to May and Saul's
So yeah,
narrative.
it's not equal at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe we're waiting to find out in terms of the conversation Saul has with May, and maybe that will kind of balance it out more. But in this episode alone, it was a lot of their moments together weren't as impactful. It was just until he found out it was her, and then he kind of knocks her out. Right?
Mhm.
Nothing was really happening
That's why
in their narrative.
I
It wasn't
didn't
really
care.
much. No,
I
exactly.
literally didn't care.
You can kind of get the cliff notes of that whole thing. Just be like Saul gets upset, and then he kind of just finds out that she's not who she is, and knocks her out, and then leaves before Vanestra and them come over. That's it. That's all you need.
That's literally it. But you
So,
have to see what Kimir did to Usha. Like, oh my gosh, you have to
yes,
see it. You have to watch
yes,
it, right?
yes,
So
yes.
I get that, and that's not to compare, but like X-Men '97 was really good at that, right? Balancing two storylines in one, 24, 30-minute
Let's get
episodes.
shorter
So
episodes,
yeah, and like those were actually like very deep storylines.
more
So just
characters.
yes, exactly. As a nitpick as well, just so it's not all positive per se. I do agree that it's not an even string of the two stories, which would have been great. Like the twin stories the whole way through, or getting
Mm.
different slices of them, and we care equally. But I find myself caring about one more than the other at certain times.
And I still don't care for them as twins. Like they could
At
have been
all.
two different pupils, and it would be the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Right.
Necessarily for them to be twins, I don't. For me, it doesn't hit as much. But again, to end on a good note, I will maintain that any negative things aren't as bad because the acting is great. I think the acting kind
General.
of brings kind of elevates everything. So you
Mhm.
can have silly moments, you can have moments that don't quite hit as hard, but I think the acting kind of sells it more to me. So
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I'll allow it. And so it's not enough a nitpick that it pulls me out of the narrative at all.
Yes, I agree. I'm more like insulting the characters themselves than the
Yes.
people portraying the character. Like,
Yes.
why would you do that, Saul? Come on.
Yes.
Fair.
Anyway, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, English Dave.
My name's English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch review of The Acolyte Episode 6. Let us know all your thoughts. Find us on social media at The Nerdy Bunch. 2 more episodes to go. I'm nervous, I'm excited. But as always, Andrew,
Keep it nerdy.